Hey, 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 hey. Black excellence, black beauty, and black pride. Black power from all diasporas coincide. Progressive truth and regression eventually collide. May the beauty of the people no longer be set aside. May the black queen's grace continually mesmerize the millions who couldn't see it when looking into her eyes. And the black man's plight no longer be the disguise. Oppression, emasculation, they wanna castricize him. Take him away from the black queen, put him inside prison for slave labor, he institutionalized. Wondering on the outside, is she willing to ride? Is she willing to ride? Is she willing to fight for the love, even despite the fact that he doing time? Love that conquers all will never fade with time. If she don't choose the love that appreciates every life, his flame might get dim and he may.
All right. Welcome and good evening to everyone. This is the Urban Impact Show, and I am Duana Bradley. I'm grateful for you joining in. Everyone that is joining us right now, make sure to share this with your friends to be on this important conversation with us as we are talking today all things Black women. And we're excited to have this conversation, and an hour will not do us enough time to really get this conversation going, but we are going to begin this conversation today. And today I want to introduce those who are with me that will be sharing in this conversation. We also will be looking at the comments that you put on Facebook as well and sharing those. So make sure you chime in with us and you talk with us as we have this very important conversation that is much needed. So I will start to my left and have you introduce yourselves to the audience.
All right. Hi, everybody. I know you see me on my phone because I'm trying to share right now as people join us. So excited for the show. I'm Luana Nelson Brown. I am the executive director of the Iowa Coalition for Collective Change and just an all-around badass Black woman. Yes, I did curse. And I'm happy to be here with my co-host today. Yay. That's all I'm going to say about me and pass it to the amazing Lyric.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lyric Sellers. I'm 16 years old, a youth activist here in Des Moines, and I'm really excited to be here and have this conversation.
Great. Thank you. And I want to really thank Lyric because you came in for us at the very last moment. So I thank you for being open and saying yes to us to join us in this conversation this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with something that I posted that got lots of attention. And we had a lot of things to say about this comment. This is a comment that came from Malcolm X in a speech. This was given in 1962 in Los Angeles. Please go back and look at the speech. I highly encourage you to do so. But I just want to tell you, towards the end of his speech, this is what he said. The most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman. This caught my attention because this is something that I've heard before. These are things that I've heard other people say. These are some things that I've experienced myself. And I think this is a very important conversation for us to have, to really talk about, is this a true statement? And if so, what are we going to do about it? So I'm going to turn it over to you all, and you just chime in on what is your reaction when you hear that quote?
Do you want to start?
I can start.
Okay.
For me, I know that statement to be true just because we live it as Black women every day. And I think part of that is just acknowledging intersectionality. Black women face at least two systems of marginalization, being Black and woman. And that doesn't even account for, if you're a person with disabilities, if you're a person of the LGBTQ plus community, etc. But just constantly having to relive the trauma that comes with being a Black woman and re-explain myself in order to get that validation that leads to any sort of change. I think it just goes to show that we're experts in our experiences. So it's really something that I feel comfortable speaking on because I just know it to be true in my heart, and I can see it and how it exists in multiple Black women on multiple levels, and just how Black women ultimately have to show up for themselves the most, as well as showing up for everyone else at the same time. So
Right. And that is something you said that hit me is one, showing up for ourselves and everybody else at the same time. Like that is like our lives every day, right? Because we take care of self, we take care of our partners, we take care of the community. We're the ones in church, we're the ones at the community, events, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work and it's exhausting. And it's also expected, because we do it and we do it so well with style and grace. It becomes expected. And what gets lost is our humanity, I think. We're expected to be superhuman, superheroes. And, I'm all about, the term Black girl magic. I do believe I'm magic. At the same time, though, there's the other side of that coin with that is that we're not human. We're always seen as supernatural, exotic, that sort of thing. And then that adds pressure to us when we have human things happen. We're having a human experience. And that's the part that makes it difficult, especially since it's expected,
Yeah, it definitely is, expected. And I think for me, when I hear, this quote and I think about it, and I go back to piggyback a little bit off what you said, is that we do so much, and we in everything we do with excellence. Okay, so we are doing everything from taking care of our families to building our own empires, whether it's business or working for somebody else, and and trying to get our education. I think for me, the one thing that stuck to me really closely about this is I think about my own education,
Right.
and I think growing up as a woman who became a single parent, of two kids, and what society would tell me is that if I'm a single parent, I'm going to continue to keep having kids and live off of the welfare system and do these kinds of things. And so when I read this comment, the one thing I thought about for me personally was the fact that I continue to get education. I always joke with people and I say I've got 20,000 degrees, for all the work that I've done. So we're going to take just a quick break and we're going to continue that conversation on women in education in just one moment. All right, we are back, and thank you for hanging with us for that quick break. We had a guest join us, and we want to give her the opportunity to introduce who she is, and then we're going to continue with the conversation.
Well, hello. I'm a little hoarse today, but I am Christine, aka Chrissy, also known as Joppa. I am the part owner of the Joppa Experience, and I am here to share my views about Black women not being protected.
All right.
Day and age.
All right. Yeah. Great. Thank you. So we were going to continue the conversation. We started to talk about as we express what this kind of comment meant to us or what feelings it brought up. One of the things I had mentioned was education. And for myself, being a single mom of two kids, the one thing that I felt like I had to do, and this is very personal, is that I felt like education was the place that I had to go for my journey in order to feel like people would pay attention to me, to understand who I was, or to even hear me. I thought that education was the place. At the time when I was growing up, my family pushed go to college, go get your education, do this, do that. For some reason back then we felt like the college degree was the space where it was. And so for me, I thought the only way to not be disrespected and the way for people to pay attention to me was through my education. I think that's something that many Black women make the choice to do. So I just want to hear your thoughts about the education piece and how that falls into this quote.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump in on that.
Okay.
Because that's absolutely, especially with our generation, our parents pushed education and, they put us in the school and they pushed the grades, they pushed higher education, which costs money, and not only did they push a bachelor's degree, they pushed master's degree, PhD, which costs more money, more money, more money. And honestly, I can't right now definitively say that higher degree paid off. You know what I mean? If I do a cost benefit analysis, it costs me way more to get that education than I receive, especially being a Black woman, knowing that, our pay differential exists. We make something like 67 cents to the white man's dollar, and that's despite education, what education we got. And then, as I'm sitting here looking at Lyric, I'm thinking, we're putting our kids in school, we're pushing education, but what's the experience they're getting in school, right? And I know that Lyric is an activist around that very thing. And, are we really doing the best for our kids? Are we really doing that by feeding them, giving them into, I'm just going to say it because, putting them into the colonizer school and then allowing that school system to feed them poison? Is that really what's best for our kids? So I'm going to throw it.
I think,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Well, I think, this is so difficult. So what I think is, so many times we as parents and our parents before us and our forefathers always pushes off what we see and how we feel onto our children instead of learning our children, finding out who our children are and encourage them to be who they want to be, because we were taught so many times to do this and do that. And if you don't do this, then this won't happen, or this won't happen. But as I became an adult and I experienced life on my own, I figured out that some of the stuff that we were given didn't work. And we so many times had to live our life through what we were taught instead of learning life on our own, seeing life through our own lens, because we see the lens of life through what our mother went through her trauma, or through her or our father's trauma, or whatever trauma they had, and they push it off on us. And now we're living a life of trauma through them, and hell, we got our own trauma that we can't even deal with at this point in time in life, because we're so busy trying to figure out going through their lens instead of seeing our own lens. So what I teach my children is, you be who you are. You do what you, not do what you want to do, but become who you are. And me as a parent would encourage you the best way that I don't know how. And then that's why I feel that the village come in, because what I don't know, then my village can help. My village can help me push them to be who and what they need to be, instead of giving them my feelings or my trauma or passing it on to them. And no, I didn't go to college. I went to culinary school. That was a 2-year degree. But the thing was, if Sanaya and Sheldon don't want to go to college, who am I to make them feel some type of way, because that's not what they want to do. I just embarked on my journey as an entrepreneur at 40. You understand what I'm saying? I'm 40 years old and I just opened up a brick and mortar. You know what I'm saying? But my children did see me hustle daily, sell plates, get up early in the morning to work for CPS at 4 o'clock in the morning, dragging them out of bed every morning to go to work for a 2-week check. You understand what I'm saying? Now they see their mom get up every morning. It may be 4 or 5 o'clock, but who's she doing it? She's doing it for me. I'm doing it for them. For them to see that, hey, this is what we can do. This is what you can be if you want to be. And if you don't want to take this road, it's other roads that you can take. But it's my job to encourage them, learn my children, learn who they are, and give them foundation. And when I say foundation, I mean basic principles of life. You understand what I'm saying? Not how I feel emotionally, not what I done been through, but give them a basic principle. You do unto others as you wish to be done. Period.
Right.
And how you apply that in your life is how you apply it. You understand what I'm saying? You do right gonna follow. It may not feel right now, but maybe in the end, it's gonna come and it's gonna work.
Right.
Yeah, and I think for me, I get kind of both ends of that with the educational piece. And that generational trauma part of it, and just trying to break those cycles. I know, like, with me, it's always trying to find ways to better our educational system and how that works. 'Cause I feel like a lot of time they throw around those words like equity, inclusion, diversity, but not really catering to it.
Speak on it.
And I feel like with all the work and the pressure I put on myself to solve the world's problems and solve the problems that I feel like I can solve or I'm passionate about, while also being a teenager. I feel like that also, that's where that generational stuff comes in, because that's where my mom steps in, and she talks about how, you know, her experience being extracted and taken from, and just worrying about that with me. And you know, and I'm so grateful that we're able to have those conversations, and I don't feel like any type of pressure or burden or like I'm not able to speak about it with her, but also just expressing, like, I watched my mom go on that journey. I watched her be extracted from. I watched what I didn't want to happen to me. And also just communicating with her that this is a learning experience for me too, because I started my activism a lot younger than my mom really did in the community. So just kind of taking what I see and what and applying what I want to happen to me and for me, and what I don't. And I think that generational piece also comes from a sense of wanting to protect us. And I feel like that's where I kind of gain that empathy for the generations older than me, is knowing that idea of protecting everyone, especially Black women, that idea is just so prevalent all the time that we kind of forget to let our kids live and experience that for themselves, and learn from it rather than shielding us from it all the time. So I just feel like being able to cultivate those environments where people are able to have those conversations and youth are able to be at the center of those conversations are really important, in order to be heard out and actually make progression within the Black community, before we try to make it in other spaces as well.
Oh, that is so powerful. That is so powerful, because you're absolutely right. I feel like, see, this lyric is the product of our generation. You know what I mean? So our parents pushed on us, you know, education without any context, you know?
I think I'm a generation younger than you do.
Two on the end of our generation. Okay. So that's what it looks like. That's what we raised, because we took what worked and didn't work for us, and then we said to you, don't do that, you know, and we, you know, you were able to watch us, like you said, get extracted from, being taken from, take. And then you incorporated that into who you are today. And at 16, you are now working in your community, as well as trying to improve that system that took so much from us, you know.
Is there a way we could boot Robert out of the comments?
Rob Johnson, please stop making comments. Thank you very much. Okay, stop making comments. He's there. He's there. But I think that, you know, the one thing that you said too, Chrissy, and I think that's for me as a parent of my kids as well, is that I don't push college down their throat. You know, because I found out that wasn't, even though I did it, and I'm proud of the things that have been achieved. That might not be the path for them. And I don't need to make them feel as if college is the only way. And I say that not just for my kids, I say that for any young person out there. There are other ways for you. Success is not because of college. It can be different things.
It's a mindset.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Life is a mindset.
It is. Yeah.
All about what you want to produce, and what you want to get.
Exactly.
And when we take care of each other in our community, then we provide the opportunities that we need. You know, right now, you know what I'm saying? We don't have to be reliant on whatever system that, as Lyric said, is trying to do diversity and inclusion. You know, we don't have to rely on that if we're taking care of each other. That's a thing that we can do, and we are doing, you know, especially as Black women. So I love that you brought the education thing up. I've been wanting to say that for a minute. And also, I'm about to take these headphones off because they are squeezing me. I can take them off,
Rob
right?
said, do black men love Black women?
Rob always instigating.
You know what? You always interject, Rob. See, this is where you get me every time, when you always where you're always interjecting something. Do black men love black women? I'm gonna let y'all go off with that first. I'm gonna give my 2 cents, but I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all talk about what do y'all think about that? Do black men love black women?
I think some black men don't know how to love black women. You know, I think it goes back to what Chrissy said a few minutes ago about the trauma. You know, we've been experiencing intergenerational trauma for centuries, and you know, we've never gotten treatment for that trauma. There is no specialized specific treatment for black trauma. That doesn't exist.
So I don't. Okay, so
Just say it.
Just say it. Go
so I
ahead.
don't want to say there is no specialized treatment, but the fact of the matter is do you want to be healed?
And that.
Do you want to be delivered from your trauma?
Right.
Do you want to recognize who you are, what you're doing to yourself, and not only what you're doing to yourself, but what you're doing to others?
Right.
And then once you recognize who and what you are, and I know this may sound repetitious, but it's the key. Once you recognize who and what you are, then you will be able to develop on how to get help. You'll be able, and I stand by this. I have a therapist and I love him. Love him to death. Do you hear me? So therapy, people always say that therapy is not for me. I'm not crazy. You ain't got to be crazy. You ain't got to be all the other stuff, clinicals that they say that you have to be. A therapist is just a person that has no stake in what you get going through, but can be a solid ear to help you shift through all your emotions.
Right.
Can see the whatever you're going through from the outside instead of the inside. So when you say, do black men love black women? I believe that they do. But like you said, Luana, are they properly taught?
Right.
Do they know how to do it?
Right.
Hell, do they not properly love themselves first?
Thank you.
I mean, come on, that's not there.
Right.
So, I mean, do they not love themselves?
Right.
You know, what was done to them as a child? Did they have a mother that didn't show them love? You know, it's just so much. I think that's just a broad topic. But do black men love black women? I'm not here to say that they don't. But guess what? I love black men.
Right.
Do you hear me?
There you go. Say it
I
again.
love black
There you
men.
go. Yes.
And however it takes or whatever it takes for us to become one and learn how to become one, I guess that's going to be a forever battle until people want to learn or deal with what they want to deal with and learn how to get through it.
And I think that's really true. I do agree that black men do love black women. I believe that that's the case. But I think it is true about what you say too. Each of us are dealing with our own traumas and our own things.
Yes.
So what happens is you bring those traumas into those relationships together, and neither one of us want to have a conversation about it. So then you're holding on to your trauma, I'm holding on to my trauma. You want to know why I ain't talking to you. I want to know what your issue is. And instead of bringing our traumas to the table to figure out how do we deal with it, and I will say I'm very guilty of this, so I'm not telling you I've arrived at nothing.
Right.
I have been in relationships, and my biggest issue has been communication. And it's been that because I hold on to so much. I wasn't raised where, you know, when we ate at the table, we wasn't talking about nothing at the table. We maybe just eating food. Matter of fact, sometimes we didn't even sit at the table with each other. So we were in different rooms. So the whole tell me how you feel, that was something that wasn't done in my family. You know, we just didn't do it. And I'm not knocking my parents because I love them like crazy, but I'm just saying we just didn't do it. So what I did was I carried that on even in my relationship with my own kids. We don't talk a whole lot. Like some folks, we could just be in a room together and we may not say too much. I'm not used to that level of talking, but I can get here with y'all and talk all day long. I can go get an award or something and talk all day long. But when it came to just really being in a relationship and having those conversations, whether it was business, whether it was personal, I struggled in that area. I did go get someone to talk to as well. Yeah, I think you should not be afraid to have a therapist and have someone to talk to. Now I know what my issues are and what I need to work on, so that when I get into the next relationship, guess what? I won't repeat the same things I repeated before because I was able to have that opportunity to talk to someone about it. And I think we have to not be ashamed to be able to talk. Like we act like we all going through something, but in order for relationships to work, and we'll talk about the black man and the black woman, we got to be willing to trust each other with our stuff.
But we also have to be willing. So 2 keys, and then I'm gonna stop talking because I can talk. You know, a lot of people. This is just my opinion, and it may not be right, and it may be wrong. You know, a lot of people say communication is the key, but it's to me it's a but to that, because I could communicate all day long.
Right.
But if the perception of what I'm saying to you is not what I'm saying,
Right.
it means nothing. Because I could say, go to that door, turn left. And in your mind, go to that door may mean go around this table, then go through the door, and then go to the left.
Right,
You understand what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah.
Then I'll be like, but that ain't what I said.
Right.
So it's all about that person's perception,
Yeah.
what they feel and what they're going through.
Yeah.
You know, so many times we ask people to be this and be that. But are you willing to be the same thing to that person that you're requesting?
Right.
You know, a lot of times we get in these relationships like, oh, I want to be his all. But are you willing to be his all when he
Right.
didn't have a relapse? Are you willing to be his protection when he needed? You know, are you willing to cover him? Are you willing to pray for him? Are you willing to still be there even when the downs get up? So, you know, it's just a lot of stuff that people be requesting. You be requesting a whole lot of stuff. You understand what I'm saying? Not only women, but men too.
That's right.
He want
Yeah.
you to do this, but baby, is you gonna wash the dish too? You know, is you gonna do some laundry?
Right.
Yeah.
Is you gonna cook on this? I mean, that's simple stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that mental stuff that they need. You know, that others that touch, that love and caring. But can you provide what you want?
Right.
Can you provide?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, okay, so everybody don't know this. I'm trying to figure out how much I share. But so I'll forget it. I'm just gonna so being in a new relationship right now, all the things that I've learned, I've realized that a lot of our relationships are transactional. And, you know, my person that I'm with now, we've talked about this very thing. It's, you know, I'm really looking for you to do X, Y, and Z for me. You know, and each person is looking for, that's a transaction. That's not love. You know what I mean? And I think that we have bought into the transactions being the definition of love, when love is unconditional. There are no conditions on love.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's free. It's loving that person, that soul, you know, for who they are and supporting. That's not transactional. And I have to say, so far, this is an amazing relationship. I'm gonna shout out my relationship real quick.
Hilarious.
He know who he is, you know. I have to shout that out because, you know, this is one of the better ones so far, you know. And most people who know me know that I'm a widow. And so, you know, had a successful marriage that went from beginning through death. And that was impactful and that was traumatic. But that trauma didn't, you know, hold me back. It led me to what I'm experiencing now. And who knows how long this one will last. But right now, it's amazing.
Yeah, and something I'll add is like talking about that communication while carrying that trauma. It reminds me of a quote. I can't remember who exactly said it, but they were talking about how we as Black people go out and we're trying to, you know, smile in the faces of the people that give us that trauma, the people at work or in school, or, you know, the white people that we have to smile for, and we take it out on the people we love the most. When we get home and we let out that anger, that frustration, we're letting it out on the people that we're supposed to love and nurture. And that is part of spreading that generational trauma, is that we're carrying your weight at the same time, and then we're passing it down onto someone else. And that's kind of where that unapologeticness comes through as well, and also being willing to cross that line, that boundary of playing it safe, rather than being radical and speaking your truth and fighting for what you need. Because I know, like, at the beginning, I was so eager to do something. I always felt like I needed to be doing something, but really I just learned that I was educating people who weren't doing anything for me or doing anything in response.
You better speak on it.
So really I just had to learn, you know, my mom always says they'll never be able to pay you as much as you're worth, but just knowing that whenever I put myself in a room with someone that's asking for something of me or asking me to tell a story or experience, that it's going towards something, and not just stopping at a conversation or stopping at me educating you. And a lot of times I get like, you're so well spoken, but that comes from having to repeat myself so many times. I've got the story down packed. I got it to the point to where I know what people want to hear versus what they don't. So I just think that we have to also be mindful of that as well, and how we're incorporating self-care into our families, and those you know, those habits that we inflict onto each other, in those expectations that we have of each other as well.
That's
just
so
what
powerful.
well, that's good. Like you are bringing things that we need to hear. That's why we asked you to be with us, because we knew that you would bring that with us. We are at the halfway point right now in this show. We're going to take a little break, and we'll be back to join you. And we're going to talk a little bit next about how we take care of ourselves. So we'll join you in just a few.
Come on.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for joining us. We are back, and we're going to continue the conversation that we're having, all things Black women. We talked a little bit about education. We're talking about trauma as well. And Luana, I know you had something to add before we went to break.
Yeah, real quick. It was something that Lyric said, and it was about the time that we spend educating people, right? We spend, and this is specifically to Black male-female relationships, because we spend so much time fighting white supremacy, and a lot of that work that we think needs to be done is to educate other people on our experiences. We spend so much time doing that. If we were able to take that same time and energy and effort and put it into each other, our relationships would look a lot differently, and it reminds me, I was in a training once. It was a DEI type training, diversity, equity, inclusion type training. And the facilitators were a Black man and a white woman. And he talked about how the experience of the Black man, particularly living in Iowa, when he sees a white woman, he has to react differently. He has to act differently. So he used an example of an elevator. Being on an elevator, white woman comes in, he has to be, on point. He has to, excuse me, ma'am, because of all of the historical trauma that Black men have experienced at the hands of white women. And what struck me about that example is that I'm also in the elevator, right? Mm-hmm. And so while you're catering and you're, excuse me, ma'am, and let me hold the door, I see all of this and I get the shun. You know what I mean? So you're doing everything that you can, going over, out of your way to put effort and energy into what is caused by white supremacy, that you completely don't have anything left for the Black woman who's standing behind you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so something you said triggered that memory for me. And I think that, that is one of the things that is so detrimental about white supremacy and colonialism, is that it robs us of our creativity. It robs us of our humanity. It robs us of our energy and the things that we would normally be able to do. All of the greatness that we have, it robs us of that if we allow it to, which we don't have to.
No, I think that's absolutely right. And one thing, as you were talking, I was just thinking about us as Black women and feeling like we are not in the room at times, giving our thoughts and opinions and ideas about things. And one thing that I know always gets me is being in the room and people want your ideas and their thoughts. Mm-hmm. They're not paying you for none of that. They want you to be on the committee. Mm-hmm. They want you to be on the advisory board. They want you to be on all of these different things, but you're not giving me a dime for the things in which I say. And then what you're going to do is take those ideas and use them to benefit yourselves. And so let's just talk a little bit about, us being in the room and giving thoughts and ideas and, kind of being used and sometimes still feeling like we're not being seen. Mm-hmm. I've heard this before, is that, I might achieve things. You've got your own business. You're executive director. You're an activist in school. Mm-hmm. I've got my own business, but still we're talking about these issues of not being seen. Mm-hmm. So what is going on in our world today that we are not being seen, even though we're achieving great things? And I say this because I think about Michelle Obama. Mm-hmm. I mean, First Lady of the United States, still being vilified by everyone. I think about Vice President Kamala Harris. So we have Black women who are doing amazing things, but we're still talking about we're not being seen. So let's talk a little bit about that.
I love that you said that, because was Chrissy, were you going to jump in?
I'm trying to figure out who's this on there talking about rob your idea and give you no credit. Who is that?
That's Leah. That's Leah. Now see that threw me off. But that's real though. So first of all, let me just say, everybody that knows me, my number one line, and I'm telling this to everybody watching right now, particularly my youth, your response anytime you are giving information and education and people are asking you to give of yourself, your response is, what is your budget? Okay. Luana doesn't do anything for free except things that she loves to do, right? Enough with that. We're done with that. Pay Black people, particularly Black women. Okay. That's my disclaimer that I have to say, but you're right. We are often, because we're seen as exotic or magical or, all knowing, which we are amazing. We're also seen as being expected to give things away for free. And that is not something that, and you will be beat into the ground, trying to give and give just to be seen. Just because you give it away still doesn't guarantee that you'll be seen. That's the thing.
Yes.
Yep.
That is so true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, I definitely can speak to that. Just putting myself in certain situations where I just have to be the head of the conversation, or they're asking something of me, but still feeling like I left with no gain. And that's kind of where I have to redefine my expectations and redefine my purpose, because everything I do is for my people. Everything I do is for my community. So while also advocating for that compensation that comes with it, and everything that, all the work I put into it, like getting something out of it, also rewarding myself in ways that just make me feel better as a person and make me feel like I'm contributing. And I think that's a lot of the times why in the beginning of what I was doing, I wasn't even asking or expecting that. And it's just because we just carry so much weight on our shoulders constantly, as if that's just our job in the world and that's just our purpose in the world. But to really just acknowledge that you're doing something that not everyone's doing, and you're doing something that takes work and effort and time and hours, and you're making it look good at the same time. And I feel like I was having a conversation before talking about how I feel like when it comes to Black women especially, our emotions are not as enabled. And I speak from experience, but I just feel like it takes a lot to get a reaction out of me, or to express a certain emotion of anger or sadness or just being upset in general. And I know my mom could speak to this, because a lot of times she's talking to me and it's like a stone wall, and she's like, are you even hearing me? Are you listening? Or are you okay? But it's just, I'm so used to that being the expectation of me, that it doesn't shock me or really affect me consciously, but maybe subconsciously, in a way where I feel a certain type of way about something. But that's just kind of coming to terms with what it is that I deserve and what it is that I should be expecting, because I look at other people and what they're getting for doing the same thing that I'm doing, or I'm telling them something and they're taking it in another room where they're getting compensated for saying the same thing. And I think it just comes to having that realization and redefining your expectations and your worth, and not that just being the given when it comes to you, because we deserve a lot better.
And I think it goes back to the saying that we all say cliche, but we really don't know what it means when we say know your self-worth, in every aspect of your life. I had to learn, even in the process of just something as simple as selling dinners. I felt at some point I had to prove who I was, so I would go in and I sell a $15 plate at $9. Who the hell does that? You know what I'm saying? And then I turn around and somebody else has sold a plate, and they ain't got half the flavor, half the product on the plate, and they plate $20. And I said, you know what? I have got to be more careful, right? So the thing is, though, but just something as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
And so just imagine when you're dealing with your own self. You know what I'm saying? How you have to feel like you have to prove who you are. Or you can't just walk in a room and be who you are.
That part.
Hell, if I'm loud, I'm loud.
That part.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
If I'm strong, I'm strong. If I'm quiet, I'm quiet. Leave
Exactly.
me alone and let me be
Yes.
who I'm gonna be.
Exactly.
You hear me?
Exactly.
And that's the problem. People don't know how to be themselves.
Right.
They're too busy trying to fit in a box that belongs to somebody else.
Exactly.
And Chrissy
That
today
is so
at 40,
true.
I ain't fitting in nobody's box. You hear me? My brother tell me all the time my mouth broke. And I say, you gonna deal with this broke mouth. And you ain't gonna deal with me at all. You hear me?
And you know what? You keep coming back.
Did you
to
hear
that
me?
broke mouth.
And he keep coming back to this broke mouth. So guess what I'm not gonna do?
Exactly.
I'm not gonna change who I am.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now there is some things that people do have to change.
Right.
You have to recognize that. But you know when you recognize that,
Yeah.
is when you find out who your self-worth is.
Exactly.
And when you find out who you are.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And you start dealing with yourself, then you can be who you're the best product that you are. But until then, I ain't fitting in Robert box. I ain't fitting in nobody else's box.
Right. And that just
And
grows as you
it's that
get
self-worth
older.
stuff.
It is.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't get it when we're young. Because
Right.
we too busy doing this and doing that. Oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. But I guess they say as maturity comes,
Yeah.
you get wiser.
Right.
And you try to figure out this, navigate this thing called life.
Right. And that's what you're describing is true liberation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's what that is. That's what being able to be you at your fullest self is true
Exactly.
liberation.
Yeah.
You know, and I do believe that, you know, it comes as you age, you know, because when I hit 50, I truly stopped trying to fit in anybody's box, you know, and it was like, the world is my box, you know, I'm going to be who I am and do what I do. And that's who I am and what I do, you know, but the constant need to try to prove yourself
Exactly.
Yeah.
is what kills us, you know?
And my therapist told me to start speaking my truth,
Yes.
but speak it
you.
respectfully.
Thank you.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna let you hurt my feelings today,
Right.
and I deal with you tomorrow.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you right now, that's what you're not gonna do. We're gonna talk about this a whole nother way, and your tone is gonna be a little bit better when you approach me.
Right.
And you
And
know
I'm
what?
gonna give you the same respect.
Right. And when we
Exactly.
do that, it comes right back to something you said, Lyric said. When we do that, when we go ahead and speak it out and say what we need to say and talk to who we need to talk to, then we don't have to then
Carry it.
take and
Yes.
take it out on our loved
And
ones.
now you can't sleep at home.
Yeah.
Or you got attitude with the next
Right.
person.
Exactly.
Because you ain't dealt with the
Because
person
you
that you're
haven't-
supposed to deal with
That part.
4 hours ago.
That part.
You understand
That
what I'm
part.
saying? If I had to deal with
Exactly.
you 4 hours ago, right now in this 6 hour, I wouldn't be cussing you out. And it ain't even no fault. You understand what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Yeah.
Take
So I'm
note.
just going to start cussing the person out at 4 o'clock.
Right.
Instead of the person at 6 o'clock.
Exactly.
It'll be over.
Yeah, then we're done.
It's
Then
my
we're
fault.
done. Yeah.
My day is clear.
Right.
I can add something else to the
Move on.
schedule.
That's
You
right.
hear me?
Right.
Robert ain't gonna invite me back no more.
No, you get to come back, but I think it's important for us to be able to do that, and that's what we don't do. And I'll tell you,
Right.
that's the same thing I learned was I just had to be me. I
Right.
couldn't sit and be worried about. I can remember that I would just always try to think, okay, if I say this, who's gonna think that?
Yeah.
If I do that, what's gonna say? If,
Playing chess.
if it
I ain't
comes
gonna
out
be able to
this
get
way,
through this though
yeah.
because I said that a long time ago. When it don't
Right.
wasn't meant for me,
Exactly.
I built my own
Right.
door over here,
Yeah.
and you better hope you can walk in.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sitting here going through all
Right.
these things in my head,
Strategizing.
trying to figure it out, and I'm so busy trying to strategize,
Yeah.
I'm messing things up. Now you
Right.
no longer know who I am. I don't even know who I am because I'm too
Exactly.
busy sitting here trying to figure
And
out
you
who
hurt,
make everybody
and they
happy.
smiling. You hear
Exactly.
me?
Right.
They like you happy. Now you sitting somewhere hurt
Right.
because you strategizing around them.
Right.
I ain't strategizing nobody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's over.
You know
Yeah.
what? I think we also just hit on the heart of some of the divide in our community. You know, it's about, you've got one faction of folks who are like, no, you have to strategize.
Yes.
You have to. And then you've got the rest of us who are like, no, I'm doing what I do and I'm saying what I need to say to who I need to say it to.
Right.
You know, and then we start judging each other for what we're doing or not doing.
Yeah.
When really true liberation is being able to be who you are when you as you are.
And
basically.
not apologize for it. You know,
Unapologetic.
Don't apologize for who you are and what you do,
Right.
you know, and how you do it. And that led me to, so I read this article, 'cause I'm always reading something about, you know, someone saying something, but Meg Thee Stallion, I'm gonna bring this article up where she did this essay, and she talked about just that, you know, people not taking her seriously because of the way she might dress and the things that she may say and the things that she does. And I think we have to get past that of letting folks just be who they are. We don't have to be concerned of how, if they are happy with themselves, who am I to tell someone that's not right or that's wrong or that's that? And I think for me, growing up, that's probably now, grandma hear me say this. She said, no, baby, there's a way you're supposed to dress. There's a way you're supposed to do something. But I think what we do is we don't let people be themselves because we're so critical and judgmental of people and who they are and what we do. And we've got to come to a place to where we are supporting each other, we loving each other. And what if it works for you, I'm happy for you, and keep it going. And if it's getting you what you need, I'm happy for you. If it's not, you need to tweak it. If you need to talk to someone, get some help, talk to them. But I think we have to get to this point of just stop trying to prescribe the way things are supposed to be. And as Black women, we just need to be. But I think we get into that where we're trying to, you know, figure out, just be who you are and live your best life being who you are, and don't apologize for who you are.
But that's that self journey.
Yeah.
And you know, people call it an awakening. And then people like, oh Lord, the stars and the glory that came out. But you know, that awakening journey ain't nothing nice. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to deal, and I know it don't matter. You got to deal with yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you got to deal with the hurt that you done caused, the hurt that somebody done caused on you, and now you done put it on somebody else. You understand what I'm saying? So that awakening of that journey is something else. But if you working on yourself, you ain't got no time of the day. Do you hear me? No time of the day to worry about and judge nobody else, because you fixing you. Because fixing you is a battle, and it definitely is a journey. And it's a daily journey. It ain't something that happened overnight. It's something that you have to do daily. You have to wake up and say, look, today I'm working on me. Today I'm helping myself to become who I want to become. You understand what I'm saying? And then when you see your sister, you ain't got to worry about if I have purple, yellow, green, or if her skirt too short for you. That's what it is.
That's right.
But what you can do is see the light in your sister, be like, sister, today your smile is pretty. Sister, that skirt is cute. That whether it's too short, that ain't your business. And it ain't your problem. Tell her. You understand what I'm saying? Let her wear her skirt. Say, sister, I see your light in you. Stay strong. Keep going and keep pushing.
Right. So let's just talk a little bit about self-care, because I think that's one thing as Black women we neglect big time, because a lot of times, and I don't want to say we, because when I say we, I don't know everybody's story. So let me say me. It's something that I neglect. It's something that I don't do all the time, because I'm too busy trying to do, you know, the business, the kids, the church, the this, the that. And so therefore self-care becomes the very last thing that I do. So let's just talk a little bit. I know we're getting close to our time being done, but let's just talk about self-care and how we as Black women can start taking better care of ourselves.
I can start us off. I think this is something that I really learned a lot this past year, especially when we had, you know, downtime and able to just reflect on our own thoughts, even more than we wanted to sometimes. But just feeling like I had to be doing something, again, like I mentioned before, feeling like I had to put everyone else before myself, and just feeling drained, but really not communicating that. And I remember one person from the BLM organization, they were telling me, like, taking care of yourself is taking care of the movement. And that's something that really stuck with me, because, you know, I can't help anyone else if me myself, if I'm not secure and I'm not in a good mental state, it's really just doing more harm than good at the end of the day. And just kind of reminding myself, like, what it is that I'm doing at my age and what it is that I'm expected to do sometimes, and just knowing that a lot of times I'm going above and beyond, but that's just kind of the expectation I set for myself. But just being able to, you know, check in with myself, have those reality checks, and just knowing that, you know, self-care looks different for everyone. And actually, like, contributing to other people's self-care as well, and making sure that they're prioritizing that as well, checking in with your other sisters and brothers, and making sure that they're doing that as well, especially because that's your village and that's the people you're surrounding yourself with, and making sure you keep that energy that's healthy and not toxic to the people around you. But I think that's just something I really had to learn in order to progress, because I just would feel so stuck sometimes, and it's just because I wasn't, catering to my needs, and I was so busy trying to make sure everything else, but everyone else was okay. And I think that just comes with that protector mentality that we carry. But it's just really, I'm just really grateful to be able to be in a room with Black women and just hear the different levels of that and how that plays into their lives today, because I'm able to incorporate that now, so I don't have to, relive some of the experiences that you wish you may have never had. So I just like to, surround myself with people as much as I can and just listen, a lot more than I speak sometimes, just because it helps me speak in the next room and to the next person.
Right. That's so powerful, again, and true. We oftentimes we are so busy doing. We're so busy, doing that we neglect ourselves. And it took me, I'm not going to lie, it took me a long time to really understand what self-care even was. I thought it was a bubble bath here and there, and I got French fries today or whatever, which can be a form of self-care. But once, as you, Chrissy, you have been saying this whole show, once you get on that self journey and learn yourself, then you understand what your self-care is. And like you, it took 2020 for me to really understand what self-care was for me, because so many things were taken away from us and we were forced to then, live in a particular state. And I realized, I know most people call 2020 the devil. They hated that year. It was the best year of my life, right? Because I was able to come out of an office that didn't make sense. You know what I mean? I still work the same job, but the office politics, there's no need for that for me. That was harmful for me, not helpful. But I have been told all of my life, that you're successful if you can be here at this time, clock in. Like, that's all crap for me, because what works for me is working with my community, right? Working in my community, working with my community, being surrounded by my village, finding my village, and doing work that way. That is my self-care, and also frequent breaks are a thing for me. And I have to say that our youth here in Des Moines, Iowa, have been, like you, have also taught me. They've been more accepting of, okay, Luana can't be there today. She can't do that today. There's no judgment. There's no question. They understand that I'm doing what I need to do to take care of me. And so now I try to now do that for others. It's like, what can you do? What's your capacity? So basically, not working outside of my capacity is how I take care of myself, But it took me till 50 to get that.
Chrissy.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't know.
Chrissy, who works around the clock.
I know, right? So I had to realize that everything that I need, I was born with, right? And so we as a people are always looking for something outside of us to save us and to help us. But the reality is that everything that you need is on the inside of you. And so when you take the time out to meditate, to become one with self, and recognize your inner strength, your weakness, and deal with them. To me, that's self-care. And, the other stuff, like the one to say is, going to get your nails and your feet done, taking care of your physical appearance. All that stuff, that is a part of self-care. But my whole thing is, and I'm going to stay on it until I'm blue in the face, if your mental ain't right, ain't nothing else right. You know what I'm saying? If your mental ain't straight, it ain't in order, intact, and all the other words that you can add to that, it ain't nothing you can do. You just out here, as they said, the hamster going on the wheel, round and round and round and round, doing the same thing expecting a different result,
right.
and it's called insanity.
That's right. That's
You hear
right.
me?
Yes, it is.
So the whole thing is you got to make sure your mental right.
Right.
And once your mental right, everything else will start falling in place. And then it just goes back to that inner strength. You know, some call it God, some call it a higher power, but it all lives within you.
Exactly.
You know, so stop looking outside of you for stuff to fix you
Right. Exactly.
and fix you.
That's right.
That's your self-care.
That
Right. Right. Exactly.
That's exactly right. And I know for my self-care is I'm a woman of faith, and everybody who knows me knows that. So I do have to be grounded in my faith to be able to deal with the things that I deal with, the people I encounter, the spaces and the places I'm in. It's my faith that keeps me strong. It's when I'm ready to cuss you out. Before I cuss you out, I'm going to have to check myself in my faith and say, please help me to say it in a way, because I'm always wanting to be honoring and pleasing to God. So for me, it's my faith that really grounds me to where I'm at. And when I feel like I am about to lose my mind, it's my faith that I go back to.
Right.
That might not work for everyone. So I'm not telling you that's the way that it has to be. I'm telling you what the self-care looks like for me. And I also have started to take time for myself, meaning no meeting day. In that calendar this week, I've got 2 meeting days. Don't call me, don't ask me for nothing. We ain't meeting on those 2 days. But those are the things that I have to do, because otherwise, if I didn't, I used to be the person that was all day, sun up to sundown. I thought I was doing something because I would go meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. By the time I got home, the kids were knocked out sleep, and then we get back up and they gone to school, and it was the same thing. And I had to get to that point. My body started to react to that.
But just, and I know we got 2 minutes.
I know.
But see, that's what I said. The stuff we teach our kids.
Yes.
You know, I had to teach myself, like, how I'm going to teach my daughter to love herself.
Yeah.
And I'm out here raggedy, spreading myself around to everybody else.
Yes,
that part.
And then she grew up and doing the same thing.
Yep.
You got to pull yourself in.
You do.
Exactly.
Because sometimes they don't go off your words. They go off what you see, what they see.
Right. No,
And I'm going to tell Sanaya to love herself. But she don't even see her mama loving herself.
Exactly.
Right,
No,
exactly.
you guys, that is absolutely right. And I told y'all this was not going to be enough for no 1 hour for us
This
to
show
do.
is too short.
This was just
short.
the beginning. Even though Rob is giving me the cutoff here, we are going to have to continue this conversation.
About his own
And I'll
show.
tell you right now,
Right.
you know what?
You are not welcome,
That's
Robert.
right. You can't come back anymore. But I just want to say to you all, Lyric, Luana, Chrissy, thank you for joining us today here on the Urban Impact Show. Thank you for those who are chiming in and talking. We know this is a much needed conversation.
Absolutely.
So Black women, I'm just going to end by saying this. I want you to believe in yourself.
My God.
I want
Come
you to
on now.
trust yourself.
Come on.
But most importantly, Black women, I want you to love yourself and take care of yourself. Thank you.
Within
And-
yourself.
That's
You hear
right.
me?
That's right.
And
Say
pull it
again.
out.
Say it again.
Dig deep within yourself and
Right.
pull that up out you.
Because
There
that's
you
where
go.
God lives. God lives
Come on.
in there.
You better
right?
tell them.
Yeah.
So that's what you're doing.
So that's it. So we want to thank you
Come
all
on,
for joining the Urban Impact Show, because we ready to start preaching up in here. So we just want to say, so I want to thank you all again for joining us on the Urban Impact Show. Join us next week. Check us out on Facebook, and we'll let you know what's coming next week. Again, I'm Dewana Bradley. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.